Boys and girls, welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Starting from Scratch podcast with me, your host, John Kleisch, on episode number 40. Woo! Number 40. Sounds good, feels good. Almost a year. That's crazy. I still feel like I'm brand new at this, or this is brand new, I should say. But either way, 40 episodes, we did it, and we're here. If this is your first time tuning in, really appreciate you doing so. Would love to hear how you found out about this podcast. There is a send me a message button in the show notes below. So if you are a first-time listener, please let me know how you found out about this. To give you an idea of what we're doing here, I am just documenting my journey into commercial real estate, just like the title suggests, starting from scratch. I started with zero commercial real estate experience and zero commercial assets owned. And I documented my journey all the way up until today, which has been almost a year, probably 10, 11 months, something like that. And now I own two buildings worth somewhere between $2.5 to $2.7 million in the greater Phoenix metro area. One's an industrial building and the other one is a office building. So go back, look through the episodes or listen to the episodes starting in chronological order if you wanted. If not, whatever. If you wanted to stick here and move on forward, cool, whatever. You could do what you want. So back to business. Let's see here. So the week wasn't really overall very interesting. The biggest update I had was last week's episode. That was huge, getting that lease signed for Grand Avenue, the industrial building. That is, I'm going to call that probably 85% leased up, maybe, yeah, something like that. And I'm just guessing right now, but there are a few outdoor areas and storage lots that we can rent out. And I'm still advertising for that, but my focus is definitely shifted from Grand over to Thunderbird, the office building. But yeah, we're cruising. We're cash flowing really well on Grand as it sits. The new tenant moves in 2 days. The swamp coolers are the company tells me they're done. My tenant tells me they're not done. So I need to go there tomorrow and check out and see what's going on. Apparently there was some parts that they were waiting for, and today they were going to get it. But when I reached out to my project guy, my project manager, he said, yep, all done, thumbs up. So who knows? We'll see what happens with that. I imagine that everything is going to be fine and it'll be good and dandy because I got my guy moving out of his spot and into my new spot on Friday, and then I got the new guy moving in right behind him on the same day, under one stipulation that the swamp coolers are to be operating as they should. If you've been following along, I ordered these things, or I gave them the thumbs up probably 5 weeks ago, maybe more. So we ran into a lot of issues. I feel like it was mostly company-related issues that were on them, and they dropped the ball multiple times, but neither here nor there. We'll figure that out later. Hopefully it's not a problem because I don't want to make a podcast about how I couldn't get a guy to move in because of swamp coolers and blah, 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 blah. So hopefully that is not a big deal because this guy doesn't want to deal with any other big deals right now. So for Thunderbird, as you guys know, it is, let's see here if I remember the correct numbers. It's like 7,400 square feet. We have 1,200 square foot leased out. It's like a whole separate unit to a fantastic tenant who has been there for a long time. And then the other 6,400 square feet of that building is completely vacant. And we had a broker go and list it to see if he could get some tenants for us and do the lease up. And it turned out to be squat. And I don't know exactly why. But neither here nor there. We got close to a deal, very close to a deal with another company that was a co-working company, and ultimately decided not to go with them for the best reasons possible because they suck. And we had insider knowledge on a friend that used them on a couple of times and totally got hosed, and it seems to be a very, very common occurrence with that company. So we ixnayed them, and now what are we going to do? Well, we are planning on doing the same kind of strategy, like a co-working executive suites type of place, but the office itself is really split up in, or not, shouldn't say split up, is very easily split up without like making it feel weird at all into like three big sections. So somewhere about 2,200 square foot, 2,100 square foot each. section. They all have about 5 offices. When I say about, there's a couple areas you could turn into offices. So call it about 5 offices each. There's multiple bathrooms. One break room would be shared amongst everybody. And that's what we're going to run with. However, I would like to also do some of that co-working in at least one of the spaces. So what we're doing now is figuring out what space would be best to use for co-working. And I think I already know that answer. It's going to be the first floor bottom, which is only, let's see here, if I remember correctly, there's basically 2 suites, or we're going to turn it 2 suites upstairs and then 1 suite downstairs. So downstairs will be the whole co-working space. And what we're doing now is researching to see the demand, the price, what are you getting for that price. So we put out Facebook Marketplace ads, which is like my favorite thing on earth. That's how I leased up Grand, was all off of Facebook Marketplace. I shop there all the time. I'm an addict for sure. I'm sure many of you are. It's a great little feature on Facebook. I don't even know what else happens on Facebook outside of Facebook Marketplace. That's like my jam right there. So I have it started off really slow. I was pretty nervous why leads weren't coming in and what was going on. And then the last couple days, we're getting about 2 leads a day. Now, 2 leads are wildly different than, potential candidates. So far, out of those 7, 1 of them has been viable. As you can imagine, everybody wants a steak dinner for that McDonald's price, right? Everyone wants the biggest private office for $299 a month, and in reality, the smallest private office we have is going to be $500, and the co-working spaces are going to start at $300. But what we might do, and I know this too, the beginning, like right now, this is a big office, 6,400 square feet. It's all empty, right? So I haven't done a tour yet with a potential candidate, but I know I've been told this, that getting the first few tenants is the hardest because you walk into an office building, it's very quiet, there's dead air, there's no noise, it's wide open, you can hear the echoes, and that's unsettling, right, for a lot of people. A lot of people would rather not be in a very, very, still place like that, especially when you're looking for a co-working spot. So we have that going against us. So what I'm probably going to do, 2 things I learned this week is that I was just talking over Facebook Marketplace chat to these people, qualifying them, asking basically what they do, what space are they looking for, and then I basically give them a price. What I want to do now is I want to get people into the facility and have them walk around, see it, and then talk about price and maybe give them a range like, oh, yeah, we have something in that range that will work for you. And what we can do is, especially in the beginning, is if they want a private office for $299 a month, I'll do it. I'll do it. If you're a potential tenant and you're listening to this podcast, yeah, I will. I'll do it. What I'm going to do, though, is make it on a month-to-month lease, and then that way we can fill up the building relatively easily, and then once demand starts to outpace the supply, we can start to bump everybody up, and then they can either pay more or they can GTFO. So I like that plan because right now, if I don't get somebody in there, right, that's $300 a month that we are not making. But the caveat, I am not willing to take a tenant that cannot pay rent. Like if they're wanting a deal because they want a deal and they're like me, always want a deal, that's cool, right? But if they're incapable of paying rent and they're going to be a problem, or they have like a really weird, noisy business that's going to affect the other people, that's a hard no. That's a hard no. But if you're just, you can afford the rent, you have a business that can pay the rent and pay them a salary and everything, I will cut you a deal right now. So that is the goal for next week, is to get as many people into the facility for a tour as possible. That way I can walk them through. I can see them person to person. And my specialty is definitely sales. So that's what we're going to do. It's hard to do any kind of selling over messaging on Facebook Marketplace. So I have a feeling the more people I get in that door, the more leases that we're going to sign, especially since the beginning we are willing to, I wouldn't say give stuff away, but borderline just get some momentum going. So as long as you can pay the rent and afford the rent, ooh-wee, we're getting you in here. So next week will be a fun week. Hopefully should have some more positive updates for you. Also, another conundrum is that this place is completely vacant of furniture and everything too. So do we go out and decorate? I know that I always go back and forth, right? Like decorating, I don't want to use that term. I want to say more so like furnishing it, making it look a little bit more presentable. And what we came up with, instead of decorating, I shouldn't say decorating, furnishing everyone's individual office, what we're going to do is the common areas, the main entrance, the upstairs, the break room. We're going to spend some money on that, on furnishing that, hanging up some paintings, putting down some couches and chairs and tables in the waiting room, in the break room, and make that look really, really proper. And then we're going to leave up the office to the individual, right? Last thing I want to do is get in there and hang some pictures and put a desk. And then they're like, oh, I have a desk. I don't like this picture. I have my own picture, right? And then we spend $1,000 and, my time doing all of that, all for naught. So that's what we're going to do on that space. Or for the furnishing portion. However, there is a big conference room that we have and another big office. What I would like to do is go find some office cubicles and I'm hoping we can fit about 6 small cubicles in that conference room and at least 4 in a big office on the bottom floor. And those desks are the desks that we will rent out for $300 a month for co-working. And to be honest, we can probably even rent those out for less, probably more like $200, $199 special or something like that. That's going to be some big money that I think is going to be well spent. And, surprise, surprise, where am I going to find these office cubicles? Facebook Marketplace. You got it. So I've already been looking at furniture and everything like that. So this week is going to be finding the furnishings and finding some cubicles and then probably start tweaking the ads a little bit, maybe put out a couple different more with a couple different words and try a couple different things. Marketing is definitely not my shtick. I do not like it. I do not like spending time doing things and tweaking things and changing things and anything about making ads and blah, 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 blah. That's a good way to kill me. However, I will do at least a little bit different iterations of things, change some things to see what gets some better feedback. Now with Grand, I'm very, very comfortable leasing that space. I know what market rent is. I know what different types of shops, what they need, what they look for. I know the ins and outs of the building. I know a lot about the good, the bad, the ugly, what's valuable, what's not valuable. Now, with this office space or office space in general, I am completely new. This is my first go at it as a whole. Sure, I've owned it since November, but I personally have done zero listing on it and practically zero research outside of this last week on what rates are, what they go for, and everything like that. Outside of, obviously, I had an idea, right? But now I'm actually doing nitty-gritty and looking at things and being very particular about the pricing, the space, the offerings, and all of that. So that will happen next week. We're going to be doing that and also getting more people in the doors to walk them around, show them the place, and work some deals. I had a boss, Derek Haddad. You'll never listen to this, but shout out, Derek Haddad. You're the man. You always said, the more hands you shake, the more deals you make. And I love that quote because it is just true. The more people I get to walk through that door, the more people I will get to say yes to a lease. So that is the motto for Thunderbird. And these probably next 3 to 4 episodes are probably going to be a little bit shorter just because I'm not trying to make very long episodes in general, but with all the craziness with Grand and everything like that, I feel like our times got out of control. Like right now we're at that 15-minute mark and we're pretty much wrapped up here. So Not expecting to have a very meaty, long podcast, but maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I'm not sure if people do enjoy the 30 minutes, the 20 minutes, 15 minutes, however long they are. I don't think I've gone over 30 minutes quite yet on a podcast. That'd be a long time to sit there and yap away, which I could probably easily do, but that's not what we're doing here. But guys, that's pretty much a wrap on, I guess, the last update for Thunderbird. Now, it's been a while since I mentioned this. We bought this, did not know there was an HOA. It went through title. Everything came back, no HOA. And, we bought this from a bank. And so they didn't know anything about it neither, because they just did a foreclosure on it and took it back. And turns out there is an HOA. And turns out the sellers knew about that HOA. And turns out that it's $1,000 a month, which really blows chunks because do the math, right? If you've been following $1,000 a month, 12 grand. I mean, we're talking, let's see, what is that? Like $160,000 worth of value, $170,000 worth of value on that building that we just lost overnight because of the HOA. Now, there are many things that we can do, and we're still figuring all of that out. Basically, the HOA is a bunch of shitheads. Honest to God, fuck off, HOA, because you suck and you're terrible and I hate your guts. And I hope you listen to this because it's the truth and you deserve to hear it. It's wild and crazy that you have $1,000 HOA fee and all you do is cut some grass, and that's it. Literally, they cut some grass and provide parking. So the last communication, we were just trying to figure out what's going on and talk with them. And then the last bit of information they gave to us was, you can talk to our lawyers. So that's going on in the background as well. That is something that is in the back of my mind. My partner, John, is handling most of that work. So right now we got to hire lawyers. So that's always fun, right? When it rains, it pours. And I feel like this is the common theme in commercial for me so far, where it's just one thing after another getting your teeth kicked in. However, that is how you learn. That is how you grow. And it's only hard until it becomes easy. Another Derek Haddad quote. Shout out Derek Haddad. That's another one of my favorite quotes too. That's very, very, very true. So that is a minor update on that end of things. Do I know how it's going to shake out? I would venture to say that it is going to shake out that we just pay the $1,000 a month, deal with it, make less money than we thought, and move on, would be my guess, because I don't really have an appetite to go out and spend 20, 30 grand on fighting some HOA, all for what? Like, what are we going to get, right? There's no real big reward at the end of that tunnel. So the only thing that I can do is go out and lease this place up and make a cash flow and just suck it up and deal with it. So that's my take on. I would love to fight them and sue everybody and sue the sellers and blah, 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 sue the HOA. I don't know. That's just really, I've dealt with a couple lawsuits and it's not fun. I don't like to deal with it. Lawyers are the only ones that win in those situations. So probably not going to go that route. It might just be one of those things where we just deal with it. And it is what it is. That is not a Derek Haddad quote. That was a quote from a random stranger that sat next to us at a Packers-Cardinals playoff game, like, shoot, 14 years ago, something like that. That's a whole nother story. But it is what it is. Either way, boys and girls, really appreciate you listening again. If you got value out of this or had some entertainment out of it, share it with somebody that you think would like this podcast as well. That would help me out dramatically, which is awesome for me, not for you. Maybe so, because I'll keep on doing this. But if you did like it and you don't have anyone to share it with and you have not left me a review, go ahead, leave me a review. I forget, guys, if I mentioned this last time, we got 10 reviews. Crazy, 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 crazy. Don't even have to write anything. Just write 5 stars, submit, done, see ya, forget about it, on to the next. So go ahead and do that. Follow me on Instagram, john.kleisch. I am going to be posting a lot of content on there, specifically with the Thunderbird office lease up and furnishing, decoration, whatever the heck you want to call it. So follow along on there for pictures and videos and cool updates. And other than that, we're out of here. That's it. That's a wrap. Boys and girls, just like that. Episode 40 in the books. Take her easy.